He was a loving husband, a devoted family man, and a successful businessman, or so everyone thought. But behind the facade, he harbored a dark secret that would fool even the sharpest minds in the FBI. This is the story of the husband who deceived everyone. John Miller seemed like the perfect husband. Living in a quiet suburb, he was adored by his wife, Susan, and respected by his neighbors. His days were spent running a thriving consulting business, and his nights were devoted to his family. But things were not as they seemed. He was always so kind, always helping out with community events. We never suspected a thing. It all started with a late-night discovery. Susan stumbled upon documents in John's home office, bank statements for accounts she didn't recognize, and receipts for purchases she'd never seen. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but something felt off. He always told me everything. Why would he hide this from me? As Susan began to piece things together, authorities were doing the same. John's business was under investigation for fraudulent activities involving millions of dollars, and the FBI was closing in. We suspected him of operating a complex Ponzi scheme, defrauding clients out of substantial sums of money. But John was meticulous. He covered his tracks well. While his family believed he was attending conferences, John was living a double life: luxury hotels, gambling, and even a secret second family in another state. He was charming, calculated. Everyone trusted him. I never would have thought he was capable of something like this. When the FBI closed in, John vanished without a trace. He left behind a devastated family, a community in shock, and a trail of unanswered questions. For years, the FBI pursued John across state lines and international borders. Tips poured in from around the country, but each lead led to a dead end. John had become a ghost. Then, in a twist no one saw coming, John's undoing wasn't a high-tech FBI operation or an informant's tip. It was a routine traffic stop. A local police officer pulled him over for a broken taillight and recognized him from a wanted poster. Pillar soft the community above reproach, making it nearly impossible for others to suspect any wrongdoing. This overcompensation was evident in John's tireless community involvement. His spearheaded fundraising efforts for the local library and organized neighborhood watch programs. His enthusiasm seemed boundless, leading many to wonder how he managed it. Tall John was always the first to volunteer and the last to leave, said Robert China, fellow PDA member. We joked that he must have a secret twin helping him out. A summer approached. John threw himself into organizing the annual Oakwood Heights Festival, a 3-day event that drew visitors from surrounding counties. He secured sponsors, coordinated with vendors, and even convinced a popular local band to headline the event. The entire community buzzed with anticipation. However, on the festival's opening night, John was nowhere to be found. Calls to his cell phone went straight to voicemail. Sarah, looking flustered and embarrassed, told concerned neighbors that JN had been called away on urgent business. She fielded questions and tried to keep the event running smoothly in his absence. As the weekend progressed, John's unexplained absence became the talk of the town. People who had never questioned his dedication now found themselves whispering speculations. Why would he miss the event that had worked so hard to organize? What business could be surgent that he couldn't even call for Sarah? This public slip, John's usually flawless performances, off alarm bells. The man who had always had a plausible explanation for everything was now silent. As she smiled and made excuses to their friends and neighbors, a growing uneasiness TTL'd in the pit of her stomach. Little did she know this was just the first crack in the carefully constructed facade of their perfect life. The cracks in his carefully constructed facade were about to widen into chasms. Late-night phone calls, hushed conversations, and mysterious business trips soon became impossible for Sarah to ignore. But nothing could have prepared her for what she was about to uncover in the weeks following John's unexplained absence from the Oakwood Heights Festival. Sarah found herself grappling with a growing sense of unease. The once predictable rhythm of their household had given way to an unsettling unpredictability. John's phone would buzz odd hours, prompting him to step outside for lengthy conversations. When questioned, he would dismiss Sarah's concerns with vague explanations about work emergencies or demanding clients. Sarah's suspicions deepened as John's behavior became increasingly erratic. He began taking frequent business trips, often with little notice. "I'm sorry, honey, but I have to fly to Chicago tonight," he say, hastily packing his suitcase. "Big potential client, I should be back in a few days." These trips on Sarah now seemed to occur every other week. Sarah noticed that John would return from these excursions looking more exhausted than energized, his usual post-success glow noticeably absent. The strain of John's secretive behavior began to take its toll on their relationship. Sarah found herself torn between her trust in the man she had known for years and the nagging doubts that refused to be silenced. She tried to rationalize his actions, telling herself that the demands of his job must be intensifying, yet a part of her couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Dr. Lane Martins, the psychologist specializing in deceptive behaviors, notes that such internal conflicts are common in relationships where one partner leads a double life. The deceived partner often experiences cognitive dissonance. Dr. Martins explains they struggle to reconcile the person they thought they knew with the evidence of deceit before them. This can lead to self-doubt and a reluctance to confront the issue directly. As the weeks passed, Sarah began to notice other red flags. John's meticulous about their shared finances now seemed evasive when discussing money matters. She brushed off her questions about large withdrawals from their joint account, claiming they were for business expenses that would be reimbursed their credit cards. Statements showed charges at high-end restaurants and hotels in cities John had never mentioned visiting. Unable to ignore her suspicions any longer, Sarah made it the difficult decision to investigate. Further, while John was away on yet another business trip, she began a careful search of their home office. Behind a loose panel in the back of the file cabinet, Sarah discovered a folder containing documents that would shatter her world. Inside were bank statements for accounts she had never known existed. These accounts held sums of money far beyond what Jay's salary could explain. There were also documents detailing offshore investments and what appeared to be shell companies with unfamiliar names. Sarah's hands trembled as she leafed through the papers, each page revealing a new face of her husband's hidden life. The discovery left Sarah reeling. The man she thought she knew, the father of her children and pillar of their community, had been leading a double life. Right under her nose, questions raced through her mind. Where did this money come from? What kind of business was John really involved in? And most importantly, what should she do with this information? As the shock of her discovery began to subside, Sarah realized she couldn't let this situation one. With a heavy heart and shaking hands, she reached for her phone. It was time to involve the authorities. Little did she know her call would set in motion an investigation that would unravel John's carefully woven web of deceit and shock an entire community. When Sarah's trembling fingers dialed the FBI's local field offices, she couldn't have imagined the storm of disbelief and denial her revelation would trigger. The agent who answered her call listened patiently as Sarah, her voice barely above a whisper, recounted her discovery of John's hidden financial documents and unexplained wealth. Despite the gravity of her claim, the agent's initial response was one of measured skepticism. John Pearson's reputation as a pillar of the community cast a long shadow over Sarah's allegations. The FBI, accustomed to dealing with false leads and mistaken accusations, approached the case with caution. Special Agent Marcus Daniels, a veteran of white-collar crime investigations, was assigned to conduct a preliminary inquiry. He began by discreetly reaching out to local law enforcement and financial institutions, seeking any red flags that might corroborate Sarah's claims. As word of the investigation's predator began to form in the tight-knit community of Oakwood Heights, many of John's friends and colleagues rallied to his defense, dismissing the allegations as a misunderstanding or a vindictive attack. "John's the most guy I know," declared Robert Chin, John's longtime friend and fellow PDA member. "There's no way he'd be involved in anything illegal." This unwavering support clashed with the FBI's growing suspicions, creating a tense atmosphere in the once peaceful suburb. The preliminary investigation proceeded methodically. Agents conducted surveillance on John's daily activities. John was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. For Susan and their children, the betrayal was incomprehensible. The man they loved and trusted had destroyed their lives. John Miller's story is a chilling reminder that people aren't always who they seem. Behind the mask of a loving husband and father was a master manipulator who fooled everyone, even the FBI. But in the end, justice prevailed. Do you know someone who lives a double life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more true crime stories.